Maverick, you've been called back to Top Gun.
Tom Cruise reportedly made $100 million from Top Gun Maverick. That is one of the biggest actor paydays in Hollywood history, and the film industry talked about it for months. In 2023, a director, not an actor, made $85 million from a single film. A 3-hour, R-rated, black-and-white historical drama with no franchise, no superhero, and no existing audience waiting for it. The film was Oppenheimer. It earned $954 million at the global box office. It beat every Marvel movie that year. It beat Indiana Jones. It became the highest-grossing biographical film in the history of cinema. And the man behind the camera walked away with nearly as much money as Tom Cruise for directing it. His name is Christopher Nolan. He is 55 years old. He has never played a character on screen. And right now, he has a deal with a major Hollywood studio that gives him more money, more control, and more leverage than any actor working today. Understanding how that happened is understanding how the entire business of Hollywood has quietly shifted, and who actually holds the power now. For most of Hollywood's history, the actor was the product. You put Tom Hanks on a poster and audiences showed up. The star's face was the reason to buy a ticket. Studios paid enormous salaries for that guarantee, and the system worked for decades. Then it broke. In the last 10 years, one A-list name after another has been attached to expensive films that underperformed or outright failed. Will Smith, Dwayne Johnson, Jennifer Lawrence, all of them at various points have proven that fame alone no longer guarantees a box office. The audience that once showed up for a name on a poster now needs something stronger. They need a reason to leave the house, put down their phone, and pay for a singles ticket when the same film will be available at home within weeks. Studios responded by doubling down on franchises. Marvel, DC, Star Wars. The theory was that audiences would always show up for a world they already loved. That worked too, until it did not. Superhero fatigue became real. Franchise films started underperforming. The guaranteed blockbuster became less guaranteed. What studios discovered, almost by accident, is that there is still one force that moves audiences with the reliability of a franchise. Not a character, not a universe. A director with a 25-year track record of making events out of films that have no business being events. Christopher Nolan built his leverage the same way any business builds a brand, through consistency over a long period of time until the product becomes a promise. Memento established his voice, non-linear, cerebral, demanding. The Dark Knight made $1 billion while being treated by critics as serious cinema. Inception turned the architecture of dreams into a global cultural moment. Interstellar made theoretical physics emotional. Each film was different in subject, but identical in one thing. It required a cinema. Not because of spectacle alone, but because Nolan films are constructed to reward full attention and punish distraction. You cannot half-watch a Nolan film. You have to be there. That requirement built an audience with a specific habit. They book Nolan tickets in advance, the way sports fans book seats for a final. Greenlight Analytics surveyed audiences more than 12 months before the Odyssey, Nolan's latest film, released. Over 70% of people who were aware it existed already intended to see it in theaters. For comparison, James Cameron's Avatar sequel drew 45%. Ryan Coogler's Sinners drew 45%. Nolan is drawing franchise numbers without a franchise. That is what his earnings are built on, and it took 25 years to construct. The moment Nolan's financial leverage became undeniable was not Oppenheimer. It was a decision he made 2 years before it, when he walked out of Warner Brothers. During the pandemic in 2021, Warner Brothers announced it would release its entire slate simultaneously in theaters and on its streaming service, same day. Nolan publicly called it the worst streaming service in the industry and left. He had made his entire career at Warner Brothers, the Batman trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, and he walked away from all of it because the studio's streaming decision threatened the one thing his brand depends on: the theatrical experience. He then held what can only be described as a bidding war, meeting with studio executives in his Hollywood Hills home office and laying out his terms. Universal won, and the terms they agreed to tell you exactly what Nolan is worth to a studio right now. Complete creative control. Gross participation, a percentage of every dollar the film earns, not profit after costs. A guaranteed marketing commitment. An extended theatrical window before streaming. A blackout on competing releases around his date. Universal gave him all of it. The alternative was watching a competitor release a Christopher Nolan film. Oppenheimer earned $954 million worldwide. Against an estimated $100 million production budget, that is one of the most profitable returns in modern Hollywood history for a non-franchise film. Christopher Nolan personally earned $85 million from it. That figure comes from his gross participation deal, the same structure that was once standard for the biggest actors in Hollywood, the Tom Cruises and Denzel Washingtons, but today almost exclusively exists for filmmakers who can guarantee a blockbuster with nearly every release. His next film, The Odyssey, has a $250 million production budget, the kind of number studios usually reserve for superhero sequels. It was shot across 6 countries over 91 days, entirely on IMAX 70mm film. Forbes estimates Universal paid Nolan $20 million up front, against 20% of the studio's gross take. If The Odyssey hits the $800 million analysts are projecting, Nolan stands to earn at least $75 million, likely crossing $100 million when streaming rights are included. For context, the film wrapped 9 days ahead of schedule. Because reliability is also part of the deal. In an industry famous for budget overruns and production chaos, a director who delivers on time and on budget is not just an artist. He is an asset. What Nolan's career demonstrates is a principle that applies far beyond Hollywood. In any industry where attention is scarce and trust is hard to earn, the person who consistently makes people feel like their time was well spent becomes irreplaceable. Actors can be replaced. A younger face, a hotter name, a cheaper deal. But a director who has trained 25 years worth of audiences to show up in advance, to plan around release dates, to treat a film as an event, that is not replaceable. That is a business relationship between a creator and an audience that no studio owns and no competitor can copy quickly. The movie star era is not over, but the most valuable person in Hollywood right now is not in front of the camera. Universal is paying him $20 million up front and 20% of everything the film earns, and they consider that a bargain. In Hollywood, the face on the poster used to be the product. Now the name above the title is.